Welcome back, everyone. It's the Bourbon Judge. Today we are diving into not rye, not bourbon, no whiskey. First time ever, we're diving into rum, Foursquare Rum. But before we do so, we're giving a huge shout out to our sponsor for today's episode. So our good friends over at ZBiotics, thank you very much for sponsoring today's episode. So, it's funny. People reach out all the time. Like, Judge, the ZBiotics work. I mean, seriously, I still get this to this day, via email or Instagram or whatever. I replied to the same thing. Guys, you guys know me. I'm no frills. Everything I speak is the truth, 100%. So yes, ZBiotics definitely does work. I use the product myself, all the time. And that's the reason why I keep partnering with ZBiotics, because it's something that I use over and over, something I truly believe in. All right, so what is ZBiotics? Very straightforward. So ZBiotics is a pre-alcohol probiotic, genetically engineered, of course, and you just simply drink it before you're about to consume alcohol to avoid those rough next mornings where, you wake up and you just don't feel good. So that's essentially what it is. The actual science behind it itself is very straightforward. So ZBiotics really, it just produces an enzyme. And that enzyme is what's responsible for breaking down the byproduct of alcohol, which is most responsible for those rough next mornings. Cool? All right. Very straightforward. So how does it work? Easily, you just take one bottle, you can shake it up. As you can see here, there are a couple different options. I mean, they have a 3-pack, they have a 6-pack, they have a whole bunch of options. If you go to TheBourbonJudge.com, you'll see all the different options. But in front of me today, I have the 3-pack as well as the 6-pack. So you take one bottle, shake it up. Just literally, all you're doing is just consuming one bottle. That's all it takes right before you're about to consume alcohol. Voila, that's it. So, actually, funny enough, last week, a bunch of my buddies were in town from Nashville, and a couple of the guys are really big into whiskey, and they're like, hey, Judge, can we come by? There's a couple of things that we know that you have that we really want to try whiskey-wise, So we all, we sipped, definitely a good bit of whiskey, but we were responsible and everything, definitely safe. And, truly, hey, let's go ahead. We popped, we used a couple of ZBiotics. Each person used one ZBiotics. And honestly, the next day, I was good to go, as well as my friends were too, which is cool. So that's essentially how it works. So if you're interested in ZBiotics, go directly to TheBourbonJudge, and you'll get 15% off on your first order. Or you can just scan the QR code on the screen, and you'll get 15% off on your first order when you order through TheBourbonJudge.com. Cool? All right. Thank you again to my friends over at ZBiotics. Now let's dive into some rum. Woo! All right, here we go. All right, so now let's go ahead and dive into Foursquare Touchstone Rum Mark 22. So a good friend of mine, my buddy Brian, who's actually a whiskey guy like myself, Brian from North Carolina, my buddy Brian M down in North Carolina, he reached out, he's like, Judge, he's like, do you want to try this brand new Foursquare Touchstone Rum? I'm like, hey, Brian, why not? He's like, I'm telling you, Judge, he's like, you are absolutely going to love it. And I've had rum before, definitely not a rum, expert, but I've definitely had rum before. He's like, Judge, I guarantee you're going to like this. He's like, you're going to like it neat and with a cigar. I'm like, Brian, that is a bold ass statement. So let me go ahead and open this bad boy up. So thanks again, Brian, for sending me a sample. Truth be told, Brian actually sent me 2 samples of this because he's like, you're gonna like it that much. So I did have a chance to dive into this already, and I gotta give my buddy Brian credit. He's a good guy. I appreciate that he shared 2 samples with me. So let me go ahead and pour this a little bit here. So when you think of Foursquare rum, you think of, obviously, Foursquare, they are truly the experts when it comes to rum. Hence the reason why even like our good friends over at Barstown Bourbon Company just created, bourbon, then finished in X rum barrels that came from Foursquare. So, Foursquare, they truly are experts when it comes to rum. And I've had their products in the past, but again, I'm not an expert, so I don't always go out and buy a lot of different, rum products on the market. But this is one where Brian was like, Judge, if you could find it, I guarantee you're going to love it. And I'm going to go ahead and send you a couple samples. So those are bold statements. All right. So this is Foursquare Touchstone Rum Mark 22. So essentially, what is this? So this rum is it's a blend of 2 different rums, both aged for 14 years. So the first one is aged 5 years in ex-bourbon barrels, then is aged 9 years in ex-cognac barrels. The second one is aged 12 years in ex-bourbon barrels, and then 2 years in ex-Camus cognac barrels. So you have two different, let's call it rums coming together, both, aged in either ex-bourbon or cognac barrels, but collectively in totality, 14 years as a whole. All right, this bottle, a little bit expensive. So this is like, it's also an allocated release as it relates like to rum, so because it's, highly allocated. So this one's a little bit more expensive, $150. So definitely on the pricier side. And then the proof standpoint, this is right in line where the judge likes it. 122 proof. Woo! Straight up fire. All right. So we got rum, aged 14 years in ex-bourbon barrels, ex-cognac barrels. Let's see what we got here. All right. So number one, right off the bat. Oh, man. When you think of rum, the number one thing always just stands out in a lot of their pours is like that sugarcane note. But this is almost like a caramelized sugarcane note. It's like a caramelized sugarcane note. You definitely get a little bit of berries as well, like some almost like some blueberries in there, a little bit of blackberries, a little bit of strawberries. The bourbon notes are coming through as well because this aged for a good bit in ex-bourbon barrels. Definitely notes like some caramel, cinnamon. Wow. The bourbon notes are strong, but it's been a long time. At least the first one, or the second one rather, 12 years in ex-bourbon barrels. That's a long time for rum to spend in ex-bourbon barrels. So not a shocker why it definitely has a lot of like traditional bourbon notes. A lot of caramel, a little bit of cinnamon, but it's still rum though. Very sweet sugar cane, almost like a caramelized sugar note, and a little bit of brown sugar. Wow, this nose is flat out amazing. Jeez. So my tell-all, if I think I'm going to like a whiskey, if I can nose it for a long time, more than likely, I'm probably going to love the whiskey. And I'm telling you, or in this case, the rum. But I'm telling you, the nose on this is just flat out amazing. Oh my gosh. Well, Brian, by itself, thank you again, my friend. All right, here we go, friends. Cheers. Ooh. Oh, man. Oh, yeah. Oh. Woo! 122 proof. Everything in the nose matches the palate. What's interesting, though, those cognac notes are more in the palate than they were in the nose. But definitely still in the nose as well as the palate and the finish, you get a ton of the traditional, funny enough, the bourbon notes, which is really cool. Even though this is a rum, Foursquare Rum, but aged in ex-bourbon barrels as well as ex-cognac barrels, I think the actual bourbon notes are a lot more prevalent than even the cognac. It's definitely a little bit of fruity as well. You get that from the cognac, definitely a little bit of fruit notes as well, but you get a lot more of like the caramel, the cinnamon, even some baking spices in the palate that I did not pick up in the nose. This is it's extremely bold and robust. Very bold and robust. 122 proof, packs a nice solid punch from the beginning of the palate all the way through the finish. Let me get a little bit more. Wow. The judge, I am equally thrilled. So the question is, Judge, is this a buy or leave it on the shelf? I think I already gave it away. This is flat out a buy. 2 times good. I am that thrilled. So honestly, I had the first sample Brian gave me with the cigar. Had the first time with the cigar, and I think it actually might even be better actually with a cigar. But this is pretty damn good even without a cigar. Folks, if you are a whiskey connoisseur like myself, you love whiskey, bourbon, rye, and you like even like finished bourbons, sometimes finished bourbons or ryes, finish in, for example, rum barrels. If you like that, I would say give this a try. I'm not typically a big rum guy where I go out and buy rum or rums in general, but this is one where if I see it, I'm definitely going to go ahead and buy it. And my man Brian, thank you for sending me the sample, because this is going to be finished right after we stop recording. Until the next time, my friends, peace, cheers, and most important, salute. Take care.